Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Matt, and today I really wanted to just make this video to kind of help anyone that's feeling like they're struggling with language learning right now. Maybe you're feeling demotivated, maybe you're feeling just really frustrated or overwhelmed in the language learning process. And I think that, it's okay to feel this way. This is very common in language learning. It's just part of the process of feeling overwhelmed, feeling a little demotivated, and just frustrated. And you could be feeling this for a number of reasons, right? Maybe you just don't feel like you're making progress. Maybe you're in that intermediate stage. Maybe you're a beginner and you feel very overwhelmed, nothing makes sense. Or maybe you just want to learn a language, but there's so many resources out there that you just don't know where to start. Whatever it is, I think that the first thing to do is take a step back and just take a breather, right? Remove yourself from the situation emotionally. Take a walk, or just whatever it is. Just take that step back and just kind of put yourself in a very objective, clear-headed mood, right? From there, we want to look at why we're feeling these certain emotions. Because a lot of times we don't do the self-analyzing component of why we're feeling a certain way, why we're failing, when obviously it's probably not the most fun because we're being kind of a little bit self-critical, and there's that temptation just to say, forget about that, I'm going to just put more time and more effort without analyzing why I'm feeling a certain way, or just whatever I'm struggling with. And just putting in that time into analyzing why you're feeling a certain way is really going to do a lot of wonders for you in the long run. So analyze that emotion of what you're feeling. Maybe it's frustration, maybe it's feeling overwhelmed, maybe it's a combination of things. And then from understanding that emotion, try to figure out what's driving that, right? And with language learning, it can be, a lot of a whole bunch of things. But I think for a lot of people, if you just really think about it, you can really narrow it down to what you're frustrated about, or what you're just kind of demotivated about, right? And in an easy case scenario, maybe it's something that's very specific, right? So maybe you just are trying to listen to movies in a foreign language, and it's just this wall of sound. You just don't understand anything. You're really frustrated and struggling with it, and maybe you know some vocabulary. You're not an absolute beginner, and you just feel like you should be making more progress. Well, if you're able to just kind of say, okay, I am frustrated with my listening comprehension skills, and by being frustrated, I just am getting demotivated, and I'm predominantly frustrated with the listening process. Well, then maybe there you can just take a look at your study routine and say, well, maybe I'm not putting enough effort into listening. And so I need to put 2x the time into that skill that I'm really struggling with, and it's making me feel this bad emotion, right? Maybe it's not something that's so specific like that. Maybe you're just feeling overwhelmed with the language learning process in general. I think in cases like that, what's important is, have goals that are informing your actions, right? Because those are what kind of gets you over those overwhelming components, especially the beginning phase, right? So do you have goals in place, right? Could you set goals that kind of help you to get over that overwhelming component, right? Maybe it's setting something up as, I'm going to study an hour every single day in the language learning process. And especially as a beginner, setting that routine up is very, it's very awesome, right? It's very important to kind of get over that overwhelming feeling and just kind of put the time in, put the effort in. That's ultimately going to get you past that, just that really jarring, extreme emotion you might be facing of feeling very overwhelmed. Or, maybe you just don't know where to get started with learning a language, right? Jump in, just try something, and don't worry about it, and just be okay with making mistakes, and try to figure out things from there. Now, with all those being said, right, I think it's just important to talk about a couple of just high-level ideas about the process with language learning. It's just one of the things that you'll find in the process is that there's just a ton of plateaus in language learning. It starts from the very beginning all the way to the very end, where we don't feel like we're making progress. We feel very overwhelmed with understanding things. Maybe that's grammatical concepts, or trying to listen to a movie and not understanding a thing, and periods of just intense joy and intense disappointment where, you know, we read a newspaper and we feel super excited that we were able to comprehend something, and then the next thing you know, we read something else and we don't understand anything. And it's just this wild ride of plateaus and various emotions. And I think just understanding that, being cognizant of that, you know, that journey, what is part of the language learning process is important, right? Because if you realize that, you know, you'll see that you're not the only one struggling, right? You'll see that there is, you know, it's challenging learning a language, right? And this is just part of the process. And that being said, you know, give yourself some credit, right? Not everyone, you know, is learning a language because it's not the easiest thing to do. So, you know, and that even being said, a lot of people don't even make that much progress anyways. So, you know, if you're attempting to learn a language, you know, give yourself some kudos, right? Because that's awesome. And if you're already kind of more in an intermediate phase or something like that, give yourself even more credit because you're making progress and accomplishing something that a lot of people actually don't end up doing. So, you know, and that's cool. And I think that it's good to be positive, right? And to kind of give yourself some credit, you know, about your progress and the effort, or even just trying to attempt things. You know, you don't have to have accomplished major milestones in the language learning process. I think a lot of it's just, you know, taking that perspective and just, you know, saying, okay, look, I'm struggling here, but I've made a lot of progress and I'm going to keep going, right? I think that's super important, right? And, you know, like I said, it's normal to feel a little bit overwhelmed sometimes and to be struggled, right? And to struggle, right? This is part of the journey that kind of everyone goes through in life, and life is part of, it's just a struggle, right? It's a fight. And I think that the key is that if you've got a good routine, right, and you've got this just, you know, good strategy, keep pushing, keep fighting, you know, keep fighting past those emotions and really just, you know, stick to your strategy, stick to your plan, don't give up. And you're gonna get over that emotion that you're facing. You're gonna make the progress that you want, overcome the obstacles that you're facing. And if you need to analyze your strategy, hopefully by kind of taking that step back and kind of figuring out why you're feeling a certain way and what's leading to it, maybe you can adjust your strategy to then ultimately help you to make more progress at the end of the day. So this is just a little bit of quick motivation. What do you think? And I will see you in the next video. Take care.